Hey guys, Boris here. The new patch has hit the live servers and drastically shaken up the meta. While dominated by fast 9 boards, the loosening of unlock conditions has widely opened up the path to them and their max caps. A single player has already came out the gates hot, averaging 1.4 AVP in high challenger. Therefore, let's jump in game with Relic and let's see what's behind his incredible consistency. We are playing in Gwen's Gift Encounter, therefore the item tempo is most likely going to be quite high, and as such we already have picked up a TF and a Laui, which would play greatly into the tempo plan around Bilgewater. We have a Shen to pair with that and have already a Laui pair. We also have a Jarvan pair, definitely going to hold on to that in the shop, since playing around Demacia is an easy way to go into Silas, which is currently one of the highest cap units in the game. Going to see if we can unlock Graves already here. Yes, we have Graves here with the IE Slam and a belt. Now, generally in this meta, since highly dominated by Fast 9, you're definitely looking for some form of an econ augment. And currently our option would be Birthday Present, however it's quite weak, and if we are playing around this Bilgewater line, we do not really have that many flex slots early on. Secrets of the Sand would be war playing from a lost streak, and it's very punishing, specifically in these high tempo encounters. While Lucky Gloves on 2-1 generally would not provide us that spike either. We have no way to guarantee gloves and we do not have upgraded unit to play around. Therefore probably defaulting Birthday Present at the moment. Now, here hard commit is a better econ option. While I believe its gold was supposed to be nerfed down to 3, it's still... There are only few emblems that it can really glyphs and just needs to give something that has all tier of units. And the extra 4 gold at start of every stage is quite decent. Generally, Shimmer Scale would be a little bit better, however, we don't have an upgraded unit to benefit from this Mogul's Mail at the moment. We also have an offensive item Slam that would generally want to pair this with another defensive item, and Fortune Strength would be more playing into some form of a Slayer's line, not particularly in favor of the meta, and again, you'd be playing from loose streak. The key here for playing Fast 9 is generally find an econ augment and play high tempo, which hard commit could definitely provide, since a emblem was again gives us that little bit of a tempo, and it will print us a little bit some of the units that we can tie in and keep up with the tempo of the lobby. So we can see with Scout Round econ augments all across the board pretty much. I would assume that the debate here is at the moment between these two econ augments. We're going to go with hard commit, and this gives us a Warden emblem. Perhaps we have a chance to find a Nautilus this way as well, which would be quite nice. Do not have one in our shop at the moment. Going to level, obviously, to try to get it up at tempo. The thing is, our board is not the strongest at the moment, and given the prismatic start, we are definitely bound to run into some very high tempo boards. Already losing out here on onto the Yordle board. Now, generally, obviously, with the Bilgewater line, you do want to be killing as much units as you can, and preferably playing from high tempo, as your level 8 is not that high, and you want to be using that level 8, that 7 Bilgewater to greed for your single Bilgewater item, or if you're in prime spot, maybe perhaps even 2 from 7 Bilgewater and then dropping down into legendary units. Managed to pick up a Laui 2, which is going to be great, especially since we should be able to level to level 5 to pair that with the Shen. Now, I'm not exactly sure what we're going to be doing with the shop. Ideally, obviously, we find a Graves pair and able to print the Graves too. Otherwise, we'd have to find a way to refresh the shop cheaply in order to be able to fish for Gangplank and a Nautilus in case it does not drop. But thankfully, we're going to see that at the start of stage 3 and already can plan around that. Otherwise, we want to be looking for an item to complete here with the belt. Running into a starter kit Swain that has the Kog'Maw in the backline and is able to take us down. So we are in this mixed streak position. Do get a good item carousel priority, but probably looking either for another sword or a glove to pair for a striker's flail. Going to opt to go for a chain, since that gives us an immediate slam in form of a Sunfire. Great early game item, and later on, if we do find an option to get to a red buff, can also remake it. Now our free component is going to be a Rod, and 2 high roll a Draven right here. Draven 2. Now that opens us a possibility to be carrying this Draven, perhaps even to something like a fast 9. Now, the one way you definitely get into something like a Noxus line is from this Draven. However, we do not have a bow at the moment to pair with it. That could start causing us some problems in stage 3. Now, Draven 2 definitely is going to be quite strong at the moment. Unlocking a Darius as well, but not sure if we're going to be able to slot that in unless we do opt to go for a full pivot. Pick up a Loris here, which is just going to be a stronger one. Digging our Bilgewater shop in hopes of a Nautilus, I would assume, since we had a GP before. Do you find a Gravestew here? Now, we have the upgraded units, we have the item slam. Now, this should put us in a good spot, since we have the front line to hold out for Graves, and we have queued into quite a few of the low streaking players, which is pretty good for us. Ending up on a 2 streak, our econ is alright. Since we have upped it to level, making 30 here is quite good. Now, generally would be wanting to find a sword here or another form of frontline item that we could slam. Do get a full protector as well, which most likely is going to go there. Another rod, which is not exactly what we're opting to, so going to go for a crown guard instead. Also going for that risky slam there as the units are traveling away. Sometimes can end up in the wrong to your wrong unit. Now another neat thing, probably the crown guard here crown guard here will synergize a little bit with the warden emblem. Although protectors well would have had the back end of that, we'll have to see. Probably just simply want to play around the road economy, and open tier is generally easier to be playing around. Now, since we have that Draven 2, we would want to be trying to streak off it as much as we can. Therefore, Air Hex could sort us the Sunder out already, since we do not even have the open components for that boxing lessons. We are not exactly sure what our endgame board is going to look like, and it's not going to provide us immediate benefit. Therefore, going to pass that on with the same logic by corrosion. Exiles 1, since it got nerfed, has become a little weaker. Otherwise, very strong eco rock. This provides, the air axiom here is going to provide us the attack speed for Draven that's lacking, and the Sunder that's going to go for that. Branching out, we have the line locked in. Do not want to be risking the opportunity. Also tagging in nicely here, Ishtal. We see if perhaps we can generate some form of other resources. 9 items on bench seems quite completable for our spot. Losing 3 would just drastically reduce it. Going to go for buy 40 XP, so are we planning on to holding on to these, perhaps the Ishtal units? Or, well, we saw the Milio, so perhaps not. Going to pick up a small dupe that we could ideally toss onto whenever we find another Nautilus, or even tempo out a Twisted Fate 2. Up against a going along player who has already unlocked a Veigar, the thing with the Veigar only requiring a single death cap. This is a tempo play you can definitely go for, even if you are playing from a lost streak. With some of these forecasts being moved down to level 7 unlocks, you can sometimes just level to 7 on 3-2 if you need to stabilize your board and then try to win the rest of the stage. One of the ways to be playing from a lost streak. Do you find a Lysandra in our shop? Unfortunately, does not tie our board in any form of the way. But then we're queuing into an Annie Recon Bob with the starter kit Swain into Annie Fiddlesticks, and they obviously have that Swain now. Does this Annie have sufficient amount of frontline? We lose by a single HP. Now this spot, even though it looked very prime, is starting to become a little tricky, especially if you're not unable to get a bow here. It's most likely going to just run for that. Yeah, going to get around to get the Rage Blade slammed on the Draven. Hopefully it's going to be quite stronger, and obviously later on we can transition these items onto a Kindred, which is one of the ways you can definitely cap this board. Also going for an aggressive level here. Definitely want to end up on a win streak if we can. Are we going to opt to slam this Hodge here? No, still have not found a Nautilus in our shop. We're going to go slam the Hodge. Now we have the Nautilus, we do not have the Gangplank now to be playing around 5 Bilgewater. He's very, even though we had the option for it, we opted not to greed for it, which is an interesting way to play. Perhaps we're still keeping in back of our mind the possibility to be playing for that Noxus Kindred type of line, and we pick up another unfortunate loss here to a Yordle player there. We can see 2 players absolutely streaking. The Riot's game special if the 2 players end up streaking through into the stage 4. And now we're into a Kaiser Rift Herald board. Now they have just spiked with the second artifact from that Living Forge. Thankfully, they have a Flicker's Blade on this Kaiser, so we're ending up on a 4 loss streak. This is one of the harder spots to be bouncing back from on the Bilgewater line. Since our Serpent count is not that quite high and our HP is going to be real low, are we even going to be able to afford to go for a Bill 7 Bilgewater item? Now for our, we do get a full Kraken, which is quite nice. At least our items have been working out since we got that rod. But probably looking to just remove her here, and slam that on the Draven. Complete a very strong Draven that's going to obviously transition into a Kindred at this point is quite clear. Not exactly sure what we could do with this Hodge, and we have the double tiers, so most likely we could consider some form of an AP carry with the components. This is the thing with the Gwen encounter. We have to be keeping in mind all the components since we have those snips. If we see a potential to perhaps pivot our board. And now we are on a 5 loss, so we would be looking for something that is going to be able to spike our board. Staffsmith would generally be a great item augment. However, we do not have that AP carry. Heroic Grab Bag, obviously not rerolling, so going to pass up on that. And Exiles is obviously the default option here, since it's just immediate combat power that we can get on our board and hopefully be able to stabilize it. And none of these other ones really do anything worse. I believe we do make a Bilgewater emblem here, but we would want that early on to be able to farm those Serpents. Little Buddies is not going to cut. Unfortunately, this augment has not worked out this set since there's so many possibilities how you can cap your boards. Therefore, going to go for a level. Thankfully, our recon is in quite decent spot already, so we're going to be able to perhaps even take it to fast 9. Like, this would be a risky play, but if we're able to level to 9 on 4-5, we are not going to be the richest, but hopefully if we are able to find a couple of units that can stabilize our board, we should be in a decent spot up against the Zerath unlock from the Sands, from the Guardian of the Sands. Now, Zerath obviously is always the first unit you want to be unlocking, and also gives you a possibility to be playing for that for Shurima. However, their HP is a little too low to be sacking rounds now, especially since they won that one. So hopefully we don't have to worry about that. Now, putting in the team planner, so this we are putting in the Noxus Kindred board. So since we were not able to get to that Bilgewater line and did not manage to generate the items, we are considering this board to be a higher potential cap, and especially since we have these Kindred items, we do not... Well, if we get another sword, we have a possibility to be playing for a MF carry, but have not went for an MF, and we have opted to go for a 7 loss streak. Thankfully, all these losses have been quite good, so we are decently healthy. Should be, well, we obviously should be 2 lives, and perhaps if we take great losses in a couple of next ones, it is going to be a 3 life game. Immediately picking up the Senna here from the carousel, as we do want definitely now to be spiking. Do not want to be going into a low life situation. Now do get that sword, and yeah, we're passing up on MF here, so we've completely given up on the Bilgewater plan. Going to go for a Shojin here and we have the last Whisper, going to be a little bit redundant, but since we have this Send is going to provide us a global shred Sunder, while Air Axiom is going to be there on for the Draven, and obviously going to be carrying the Draven until we find a Kindred 2. Simple math, 9 gold better than 5 gold. So we get the Ornn as well, which is going to pair into the Wardens, and we know that we're going to be getting that Ornn pair, and also picking up a Taric here, one of the better Warden emblem holders, since he has the innate shield. The Warden emblem synergizes with any units that have shield. I do not recall the exact text of it, but I believe it provides a little bit of extra healing whenever you do, of the value of the shield you have received. Up against another Fast 9 player who has already unlocked the Zir set, and thankfully we have the power of the combat augments to be able to stall for us, and 5 Warden very strong at this point, especially if you have that Warden emblem. Also completing a 2-star Garand here and unlocking Silas for ourselves. And do we considered unlocking the Skarner here, but we believe that we should be quite good enough with the Taric. Also able to pick up a 2-star Braum. Do not want to mess with our 5-cost shop pods, 4 costs, as we are still counting on the Taric, but found the Braum 2 quite early. Now, he is... So it looks like we are instead transitioning the items to the Kindred, just wanting that extra value. Silas here, 1 is going to be extremely strong for us. Going for a mana version of the Senna, and do end up tossing around here to the Zoe Malzahar reroll board, for one of the more fun reroll boards to honestly be playing. And we have a Fiddle pair and a Silas pair now in our shop. Do want to get... Haven't found us 2-star Taric, so when we do want to get the Noxus rolling for a little bit of an extra frontline on our board, therefore going to toss in a Swain here, and obviously want the Tarkanist buff for our Silas as well, since we do not have the most upfront of the AP items on him right now. Still a very low econ game, but if we are able to 2-star one of these 5 costs, we hopefully find the best one we can get, which is the Silas. Could potentially even consider swapping him places with the Ornn here. Still going to go for this kind of variation to be positioning around our exiles. Still a scary spot now. Stage 5 damage is going to be 10, so we can only take a 2-unit loss. Up against a Vhagar player who has Cannon 3 holding down and have also made it to a Ziggs. But the Silas unit is absolute monster. Hopefully is able to let us ride through the stage with the extra combat buffs, with the stall. And the shields obviously from exiles provides benefiting us. Going to go again for a Senna 2. While not the greatest of the items, we are in low econ situation, so we have to taking these upgrades. Whenever you are on 1 life, we cannot greed. If they are offered to us, we have to take them. Fine. Oh, so this is amazing for us. We do get the... I even forget what this item is called, but obviously it's one of the better Silas artifacts. Perhaps only real user for it in this current set at the moment. Seeker's Amgar, there we go. Since set would generally be stacking it quite low, obviously it can go infinite, but the Silas is able to pick up these ults, and with the Outlook Salt able to get the extra takedowns and stack it up absolutely, so he's just going to be an absolute monster with the Titans in him as well. Now that we have the Senna 2, we should definitely be quite stable against most of these boards, I believe. Checking our matchups should be fine. Perhaps there was a Rise too, but while the Rise has received some way in... Yeah, so it is a Rise 2, and there's also a Set 2, which is on our side. So it's going to get a decently early reset for us. So this is a close fight, but thankfully he does not have the full damage items, and the Braum is going to do quite nicely against them. And I believe we should be in a very prime spot to be contesting top 2 at this point. We should have another Ornn artifact coming in a couple of turns as well. Especially if we hit that Kindred too, we are pretty much sorted out. Otherwise, we're looking for a Kindred item, obviously, at this point. Could also look for a potential to be transitioning the Spark off the Braum, as it's not the most full of the tank items, but we find a Giant Slayer, which is amazing for the Kindred. Also going to opt to go for a Ornn tank. Now, generally, Braum is considered to be a little bit of a stronger tank, since his ability is more in form of actual defensives. But nice to note that the 5 cost has finally received enough HP buffs to be able to be the prime tank on its line. And as that, we have secured top 4. Also unlocking Volibear here. Doubt that we are going to be playing around it. But as we can see, even though from a tough spot we recognize the necessity to spike, found the ways how we can do so by holding on to... by utilizing the fact that the game was quite high econ, and that while we took losses, we took good losses and were able to carry that loss streak into a fast 9 and find the cheapest board to stabilize on. And thankfully we were able to get to these Garens before the rest of the players were chasing them, and the Silas has greatly stabilized as an absolute monster of a unit, securing us a top 2 already here, and I believe that we should be able to win out here. Farm the second artifact, also find a Shyvana too. We have the Talisman of Ascension, just probably going to toss that on the Ornn instead of the Spark, also receiving that extra bit of HP buff. Now, do not want this... Yeah, so thankfully their Rise is on the other side. Do not want to get the Yordle debuff on our team. On our prime carries, that is, specifically. But the Silas is just absolutely melting the board, and we are securing a win here, especially since we have the extra form of combat power, while they were more had another eco augment. Greatly played by Relic here, showing immense spot recognition and playing off what the game has given you to utilize the least of the resources, stabilize your board, and secure a win. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something new, and I wish to see you in the next one. Have a good one.